Crimson Desert is one of the games that I am looking forward to most in 2025. It looks absolutely amazing, and Pelopis has not been shy at all about posting like hours and quite literally hours of gameplay that you can find spread all throughout the year span that they have announced the game and that they have delayed the game as well. However, this I think it's one of the games that shouldn't be overhyped because we can be disappointed, and throughout the course of this video I will explain why is that the case. So first and foremost, let's start with some general information that we have learned throughout the years with interviews and interesting little details that you might not be aware about this game. It was originally going to be a prequel to their MMORPG Black Desert Online, and like the later, it would have been an MMO as well. However, during the development process and several changes in direction, they changed it into being a single-player open world with, and I want to emphasize this, with multiplayer mode that will come after the game's launch. So the game will not have natively a multiplayer, there is going to be multiplayer after the game releases. You'll not be able to create your character, there's already a pre-made protagonist that you can see right here, Cliff MacDuff. A grey beard, a band of highly regarded mercenaries that were almost butchered on its entirety. You will follow his quest in this brand new open world. Another little tiny detail that you probably did not know is that Sony tried to purchase launch limited exclusivity, and they said no to their faces. Bravo! I mean, I have nothing against PlayStation users and consoles. I personally have a PlayStation 5. We cover PlayStation games in here in the channel as well. But dude, Sony's BS is just like disgusting, dude. They have been so many titles that people could not play on Xbox because of that kind of crap. First party studios, I get it. But like paying someone to lock stuff out of the competition, that's just pure BS. That's locking people out of amazing games just because you want to hurt the competition. When in reality, you're hurting not the competition, you're hurting the fans, the gamers, the people that play the games, that want to play the games. They don't get to play those cool games. Alright, that's enough with the rant. That said, coming to every platform this year, all gamers rejoice, and that makes me very happy. So even with so much gameplay, it's hard to define the game's identity. It has changed direction and ideas quite several times. Initially, as stated by developers, what do they like? How do they want their game to be looking like? What is it that they want to have as a general pitch? Because PlayStation compared the game to their own flag IP, Ghost of Tsushima. And they said that their inspiration, far from that, their inspiration, Pelopis' inspiration for Crimson Desert, is games like The Witcher 3, Assassin's Creed, Red Dead Redemption, and the new Zeldas. And honestly, well, yeah, I do see quite a lot of those games in Crimson Desert. It quite definitely looks like them in many aspects, which is great, because all of them are amazing franchises, of course. Now, one cool thing is that it seems that it will not have microtransactions, which is a huge question mark for a lot of people familiar with the Black Desert Online game, which, with this game supposed to be a prequel of and being an MMO. Down the video description you have my research sources. There is an investors call where they said that they wanted to have DLCs, but the DLCs that they want to have in Crimson Desert is more on the idea of expansions and actual DLCs and not micros. Now here's where it actually starts getting tricky. Again, it has changed direction several times, and that's why it has been delayed so many times as well. It began development in 2018. Back then, they gave a shocking 2021 release date when they announced the game in 2020. Now, they changed that. There was a delay in that, and that might have been because of the comments on the release trailer. People were noticing stiffness and animations and frame drops to like 10 frames per second or 20 even, which is why they posted this precisely about that specific feedback. This prompted a later 2023 release date. Yes, it was going to initially be released in 2021 in winter 2021, and then it was moved to 2023, which was delayed, of course, again. And now on the Game Awards 2024, they announced that it is going to be coming on late 2025, meaning this year. Now, Crimson Desert, it's a game that's trying to do too many things. It wants to have RPG elements with gear, upgrade and customization system, bosses and counters, side quest platformings, Zelda's form of traversal. You can see how similar this looks to Tears of the Kingdom. Castle sieges, you can have like dragon riding, which can also fire breath the hell out of castles. Dungeon delving, then again, similar to the idea presented by Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom as well. Like, yeah, dude. It all sounds amazing, and I do not want to sound pessimistic, but I like rather to have quality over quantity. And I am not saying that they will not deliver, but it is concerning that many of these ideas were implanted after the fact, not prior. It has been said several times on interviews that a lot of the things that they want to do, like they did not have, like, they had a general idea, but the game has changed so much, so many times, and these new gameplay ideas were added after the fact. They did not have a frame, dude. They were just tossing random ideas and that later on would be added to the game, which is why it has changed direction so many times, and that is why it has been delayed just as many times as well. And new features just keep coming and coming. This has all the vibes of too good to be true, honestly. I mean, I'd love if all of this were to be true, but I think that this is one of the times that we need to be skeptical about games, especially since we have the investors' pressure, and no one would like to see this turn into a new Cyberpunk 2077 launch situation. I mentioned that because it is investors that, despite the delays, investors are on board. Again, link in the description, and they are very much involved in the development, so they do have a time limit and they cannot stretch development that much. Similar to Cyberpunk 2077, they had to launch the game against the developers' advice because of investors' pressure. And well, yeah, I mean, no one knows the state of the game better than a developer, but we also need to have in mind that when someone is making art, which I believe video games to be, and you're a perfectionist, you're never quite finished. I myself have never been satisfied with my work, and I want to add more things whenever I do not know, dude. I'm writing, singing, drawing, what have you. So, yeah, I mean, developers are always going to want to have more time. And yes, it's fine that they take their time, but we don't want to keep stretching things because you want to keep adding more things and you need to polish those new things that are being added into the game. The multiplayer, which there will be, isn't going to be on day one release, and that's most likely because investors are pushing so hard for a release date that they had to add core features of the game later on, not on release date. And what I'm trying to get at is that, previously said, it's just so much stuff into the game added mid-development, and not having a clear frame, it's tough, dude. Furthermore, a lot of people that have already played the game and game conventions and things like that, there seems to be somewhat of a consensus that, well, it doesn't feel as good as a specialized video game. Like the Witcher games, for example, it has always been about narrative, and the rest is like just enjoyable, dude, serviceable. Or Souls games, where it's all about the combat gameplay. Their lore management is not everyone's cup of tea when it comes to narrative storytelling. I am a nerd. I love talking about the lore with my friends, discussing theories and things like that, but I do understand that some people enjoy more streamlined narrative like God of War in front of them, or have, for example, Zelda's exploration. But have in mind that those individual games are masters on those specific, very core aspects, and everything else, it's enjoyable, it's serviceable, but it's not the main core thing. Crimson Desert looks like they're trying to have it all in one single game. They do not want to streamline mainly into something, and they just want to be the whole cake. And hell, dude, if they manage to make it, it will certainly be one of the greatest games ever made. But they have a titanic road ahead of them if they're trying to accomplish such a daunting feat. I hope they will, because a game like that would shackle the foundations of gaming and set new standards for video games. But I'd stay more skeptical about this one and just wait for reviews before pre-purchases, even if there are pre-purchases. Yeah, you get the gist of what I mean. Like, with this kind of a game we need to have like the review before we actually made a decision on whether or not purchase the game or not. What I do like is that the transparency, like there's a whole lot of gameplay that you can see out there. All throughout the rendition of this video, you have gameplay, and they just have tons and tons and tons of gameplay, so you can see the game for what it is. Anyways, if you like the content, like and never super appreciated. Nostal, you're the gorgeous beautiful person. You're in the gorgeous beautiful person. Subscribe to the channel. You're in Discord. Have a beautiful day and goodbye.